Welcome to Mac Fitness. I'm Coach Rodney, certified personal trainer and nutrition specialist. Thank you for joining us today. We are working on our range of motion. Now our focus areas are going to be our hips and then muscles surrounding those hips. I want you to have an open space enough to where you can extend your legs either to the front or back. If you like, I have my Eric's pad, or if you want to use a pillow, by all means do that. We're going to start off with our hip flexor today. Let's get started. We're going to have our foot out here in front. We're going to shift our hip forward, extending that hip flexor here. Now, there's always ways that you can intensify your stretch and get a greater range of motion, but the best way to do that is to sit in a static stretch for at least 30 seconds. But here's some small tips. You can slightly squeeze that glute, or you can simply raise your arm that will help you extend that front, that anterior side just a little bit more. Our 30 seconds are up. We are just going to stay on this one side. So now I'm going to face forward just so you can see this angle. I'm going to swing my leg open, and now we're going to move into our groin. Let's go ahead and shift that weight out. You'll notice a few things. One, my foot is flat, and I'm getting a slight stretch within my calf, but mainly this is for our groin, our pelvic floor. I want you to shift your body out and then drop your hips to the floor, working on that groin stretch. Now, you may get additional stretches within your groin. You may get some adductor stretch within there as well, but the goal is to get that stretch in that groin. That's our 30 seconds. We're going to pull this leg up. Now we're going to extend this leg out, and now we're going to sit back, stretching out that inner thigh, that adduction. Now, depending on the angle that you're at, what you're trying to do is get enough of an angle and get enough leverage to shift that weight back to get a stretch within that adductor. You can lift that foot up to get a little bit of that hamstring or a different stretch, or you can just simply go hands-free, your choice. We've got another 2, 1, and we're there. I'm gonna give you a different angle here, all right? It's gonna be a little different, but I'm gonna turn my back to you. We are going to take that same leg, shift it across our body, and then we're going to shift our hips down. Now, our goal is to stretch out our piriformis. I just want to give you this back angle so you can understand what this looks like. Shifting that weight off to the side. I'm going to turn around. We've got about another 10 seconds left. But you simply want to shift that weight, and if you want to, you can get slight rotation in that lumbar as well. It's going to give you an additional stretch, all right? That's our 30 seconds. We're going to work our entire right side now, bringing that leg out here in front. We're going to shift our weight forward. Now we're stretching out that left side, that left hip flexor. Again, those small adjustments. You can squeeze your glute, you can lift your arm up, but the goal is just simply to shift out into a stretch where you feel somewhere around a 6 or 7, maybe an 8 in intensity, and hold that for 30 seconds. If you're consistent at that, in 3, 2, 1, perfect. All right, we're staying on that side. I'm just gonna adjust my Eric's pad just a little bit. I'm going to now swing this leg out here to the right. And now I'm going to shift my weight first and then drop my hip to the floor, dropping that pelvic floor to the floor to get that stretch within that groin. Now, there are some other ways that you can intensify that stretch. You can add some weights. So when you shift out, you can have a kettlebell, dumbbell that will weigh you down. Now you don't have to do as much work within the process. We've got another 3, 2, 1, and we're there. Perfect. All right, now let's extend this leg out. As you'll notice in my previous videos, let's shift that weight back. And even going forward, I am always looking to be as efficient as possible. I don't want you to have to do a ton of movement and a ton of thinking when we're going through whether it's our stretch or our exercise. I want you to be able to move through systematically to where it feels comfortable, it feels smooth, and something that you can learn quickly, so then maybe at the end of the day, you won't need me. and 2, 1, and you're there. Perfect. All right, sticking with this leg being the only one that moves, we're going to now shift that back, shift it to the left, and then we're going to shift our weight to the left, dropping that hip to the floor. Again, this is just an elevated pigeon pose. You can be on the floor doing this same stretch, but I do find it helpful when you change the angle of your stretch. All of a sudden now you get different angles and different stretches to where now your mobility really improves. We've got another 3, 2, 1, and we're there. Perfect. All right, now that we've stretched all those muscles surrounding our hips, now we're going to work on strengthening them. All right, we're going to sit here on our butt. We're just going to lift this leg for 30 seconds, working this hip flexor. Now, your choice, you can have your hands back here to kickstand to support yourself. If you're strong enough to hold yourself up, you can lift that leg up while your back is neutral. I want to make sure that we're not rounded here, all right? Stand tall, lift that leg. It is going to shorten that range of motion just a little bit, and relax. So if you haven't noticed, we've got about 10 seconds in between each one of these stretches and exercises. We're going to start in 2, 1, lifting that opposite side. Now, whenever you're working on increasing your range of motion, that is a great opportunity for you to just move better and be pain-free. But the reality is sometimes, many times, when that muscle is tight, it's also weak. And we want to make sure that we're strengthening that muscle as well. In 3, 2, 1, and we're there. All right, I'm going to give you a different angle here. We're going to work side to side now, all right? We're going to lift that leg, shift it inward, shift it outward, bring it back, and we're down. So what we're doing is we are trying to abduct those legs and then adduct those legs, working that full hip flexor, not just that linear portion. We've got less than 10 seconds left, and we don't want to rush this process. This is time under tension and time, all right? We've got about another 5 seconds before we move on to the opposite side. In 3, 2, 1, perfect. Perfect, nice job. Again, you can go hands-free if you want to. That's a choice. This is all based on ability level, all right? Pain tolerance, all right? Your ability, where you start, doesn't necessarily mean where you're going to finish. But you want to give yourself the best opportunity to be successful. All right, we're going to go and lie on our side. We're going to shift that top leg back. And now we're going to lift that bottom leg. We are now working on those adductors. Adductors. That muscle that's going to help us in our lateral movement, bringing that leg back to our center. Now, your range may not be this high. It may be lower. That's okay. Again, we're working on strengthening muscles that we've stretched. We're going to start with our leg lift on the top in 2, 1. Now, I like to keep my toe pointing straight ahead. You can have that toe pointed out, okay? That's not a huge deal. It's not a deal breaker, right? But right now, we're working on those glutes. We are also working on that IT band and that TFL. All of these are great for those leg lifts. If you're having issues with low back, this could be an issue in time. Perfect. All right, we're swinging over to the opposite side. Remember, we're going to work the bottom leg first, and we're going to lift to our range of motion. Now, you'll notice, or at least I notice, This leg does not go as high as my other one. I just don't have that range of motion. You're gonna have some muscle imbalances, but that's where the stretching consistently comes in. I'm not even saying that you have to spend every single day stretching, although I would highly recommend that you do. But what I would recommend is that you stretch more than you don't. 5 days a week of get a good stretch, 5 to 10 minutes worth. You could even spend 3 minutes worth stretching. But we want to make sure we're stretching more than we're not stretching, allowing our range of motion to improve and allowing us to live pain-free. This is our last set off of this one, people. Squeezing those glutes. I like to get a little flex within that quad. Again, I'm all about efficiency. If I can work multiple muscles, I'm going to do that. In 3, 2, 1, and time. Perfect. All right. We add a little bit of an element into today as far as strengthening those muscles. It's important. Yes, I want you to stretch. But along with stretching, you want to make sure you're strengthening those muscles as well, especially those smaller, what we would consider, or what you would consider those auxiliary muscles, all right? Those hip flexors, your piriformis, all of those smaller muscles that we are growing, all of those smaller muscles that are really important in those major lifts, and that's in our everyday movement, but we neglect sometimes, all right? So do me a favor. I want you to check out my previous videos if you're looking for additional stretches. I've also got workouts out there. You can follow me on social media, on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. You can find me at Mac Fitness Texas on TikTok, Mac Fitness Texas on Instagram, and then Mac Fitness on Facebook. Listen, I appreciate you coming and joining me today to work on our range of motion and strengthen those auxiliary muscles. Listen, it is always just one change away from becoming a healthier you, and I hope you choose that option. I'm Coach Rodney. Until next time.